Good evening again. I'd like to call the committee of the whole for the Village of Cary for January 21st, 2025 to order with roll call, please.
Collier.
Here.
Dudek.
Here.
McAlpine.
Here.
Stefani.
Here.
Weinhammer.
Here.
Koenig.
Here, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now moving to the public comments, where the public is invited to make an issue-oriented comment on any matter of public concern not otherwise on the agenda. I have Al Tuman. Would you like to come up, please? No, come on up. Is it about Maplewood? Yeah, why don't you wait till, if it's about Maplewood, we're going
But I
to,
got two other items.
give us your other items then.
I walk through town every day. The street lights have been on for months during the day. The string lights, the street lights. I can't imagine an electrical engineer designing that to be on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And then on Spring Street, I just have a concern about trees laying on wires over the sidewalk down towards the treatment plant. I walk that sidewalk every day, almost. And they're hanging on the wires. The wires are all bent over. It's a potential hazard for someone. I don't know if you gotta call ComEd, whatever you gotta do, but someone's gonna get hurt there. They're stretched out.
Where exactly is that?
Where that empty lot is down Spring Street.
Okay.
I just don't want someone to get hurt there. They're just laying on it.
Okay.
It's multiple trees. They've been there for years, but they're stretching more and more.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any other thing they'd like to address the committee of the whole before we get started? All right, we'll go ahead and close public comments at 6:14. We have one item to discuss, discussing the developer responses to a request for proposals and qualifications related to the redevelopment of the Maplewood property. Director Simmons?
Thank you, Mayor. As the board's aware, and also for public's knowledge, following the execution of an intergovernmental agreement with District 26, the village will be taking ownership of the Maplewood property. And as part of that was the intent to make that property available to the private development community for potential development. So as part of the, following the approval of the IGA, the village worked through releasing the RFP to the development community and received, spoke to several developers regarding the property, did receive 3 formal proposals to that RFP, which were discussed at our last board meeting 2 weeks ago. And this evening really wanted to give the board an opportunity to, again, discuss the projects publicly to see if there's a decision regarding potentially working with one of those developers for a redevelopment agreement for the property. And if so, once there is direction from the board in that manner, staff will work with that selected developer on the property for a developing an agreement, and then certainly going through our zoning process for zoning entitlements related to the project as it would be further refined throughout this year. So with that for discussion this evening is really just to get additional feedback from the board. I do want to thank the board for the feedback that you provided thus far throughout this process. Obviously, we've had the proposals in hand now for some time since mid-November, and the feedback that the board has given for different discussions that we've had on the projects and proposals. Do appreciate that, and hopefully we're able to determine a path forward from this standpoint and be able to work with the developer on the site and potentially go through and successfully redevelop the site. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that the board may have for additional discussion here this evening as well.
Yeah, I was just going to say, would it be all right if I let public comment go first?
Sure, I have no problem.
Thank you. I will try to do this as orderly as possible. Al Toomans, would you like to come back up and talk about Maplewood, please?
L. Truman, 219 South Wolf. I was at the first meeting about Maplewood with potential developers at El Fresco Alley. I listened to the outline from the village staff. Then they had questions from the developers. One of the first questions was, this property has great mixed-use potential and will draw pushback from residents for just rental apartments and townhomes. An answer to that was, let us worry about it. I thought, wow. But it's hard to get pushback about development when it took 5 days to be published and only in an e-newspaper on Sunday. That's kind of fishy too. Do we want business in Cary? 5 acres across the street, zone business, change the townhome. 30 acres zone business on Route 31, 30 acres proposed for rentals. 6 acres left for business, how generous. Now 15 acres in town to be all rental, Maplewood. That's 45 acres of rental, 5 acres of townhome, and 6 acres of business. Do we not want business in this town? Something doesn't add up to me. When 40 acres was zoned business, and it's turned to 45 acres of rental. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to make a comment about anything going on at Maplewood? Please come up, state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Jeremiah Barrett, 557 Crens. I was wondering, if it was going to be rental townhomes and apartment buildings, I would hope it would be an improvement instead of the monstrosities that they made out of the Senior Krause Center and the places on 14. I remember way back when the school district wanted to change the zoning, and the developer was here with his townhomes. And Trustee McAlpin said at that time that she was disappointed in the renderings. Well, those renderings look like Taj Mahal compared to the Senior Citizen Center and that place on 14. So I would hope, if you're gonna do it and you want upscale stuff, look at some of the brownstones like they did in Arlington Heights or Palatine, not the junk that the senior citizens are. They have a rural route mailbox rail there. You can't tell me that you couldn't have made the developer get a DCBU for those 4 units. You know, that's ridiculous. That's all I've got to say. Also, one more thing. I would like to know how many variances you're going to give the developer, because the building codes evidently don't mean anything, because we give variances to every developer that comes into place.
Just could I just comment on your thoughts? I would hope that you would stay engaged in this process. We're just starting this. We want the community to be engaged. We want to hear your feedback. You will be given multiple opportunities to discuss with the developers. They will have multiple open houses. You will have ample opportunity to discuss facades and offer your opinions for what you would like to see over there. And with regards to the senior schoolhouse apartments that there are none now, it's been noted to the property owner about the mailboxes. We'll see what we can do.
Okay. Why couldn't that have been done, before they even put the mailboxes up?
We understand, Director Simmons, and we have been in contact with the property owner. Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to make a comment? Come on up. Just state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Rachel Byerly, 538 Norman Drive. I guess, I just found out about this meeting within the last several hours, so forgive my lack of preparation here, but I feel as though I need to bring up some points, maybe introduce myself a little bit. I purchased a home on Norman Drive in 2019. Some of the reasons I purchased this home, it was a quiet neighborhood. There were ample sidewalks for my son to ride his bikes. He could safely, move around the neighborhood, play in the yard. There wasn't a whole lot of traffic coming by our street. The neighbors were very welcoming, very nice. The homes were well kept, very attractive from the outside. The home was within my budget. It was a single-family home within my budget. And, if I'm being perfectly honest here, I think you're all aware of that. And if this development were being discussed, significantly northwest in Cary, we might not be here today. There were baseball fields within walking distance. And my son was an avid baseball player. We spent countless years practicing at the fields, playing in the batting cages. We have wonderful memories there. I knew at that time this house was, someplace we were going to stay for a long time. I was going to be able to invest in this home, make some improvements, make it exactly the home I had envisioned for my family. It had a fenced-in yard, a great backyard for my dog to go out in, for my son to play in, for him to have friends over, to safely play in the yard. It was quiet, very quiet. I know I mentioned that earlier, but I think that's a very key point. So to continue introducing myself, I am a Cary resident, have been for years, even prior to 2019. I pay taxes. I apply for permits. I pay for permits every time that I am going to make a home improvement or invest in a construction process at my residence. I keep my home and my yard well maintained. It looks nice from the outside, as do my neighbors. We care an awful lot about our properties. We care an awful lot about our homes. And we care even more about each other. It's a fantastic neighborhood to live in. Truly is. I support local businesses. I volunteer my time in multiple nonprofit organizations and community events. I have a child who has participated in countless athletic teams, sports events, school events, park district events all throughout the years. In fact, I have even coached and helped to lead many of these events throughout the years. I am exactly the resident that the Village of Cary should hope to keep in Cary. You are building a road in my backyard, right past my backyard fence line. And you are building massive apartment complexes just a block away. The majority of the facts that I listed and qualities that I love about this neighborhood will be very soon completely annihilated. There is no way for me to see this as anything but a complete lack of regard for me and my neighbors. It comes to appear as though you are chasing us out, and many of us will not want to stay in that neighborhood or in Cary. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Does anybody else like to make a comment?
Hi, my name is Elaine Bailey. I live at 212 Mary Lane. I grew up in that neighborhood. I moved back to that neighborhood. The reason why I moved back there is because it's a great neighborhood to raise kids. I went to Maplewood School. Sure, there's memories at Maplewood School. I don't care if you tear down Maplewood School. I don't care if you develop. I do care what you do develop. I don't think that bringing in so many rentals to the area is going to do any good to that neighborhood. Why are we not, I get it, the train's right there, but why are we not promoting home ownership into Cary? Why don't we develop the neighborhood exactly how the neighborhood is? Small, single-family homes. Develop a home for somebody that can actually live there and afford there and purchase and stay here in Cary. Have their kids raise up here in Cary. I've been here for 43 years. I love Cary. But Cary is going to be this huge monstrosity that's not going to be family home ownership. We need family home ownership. I have a brand new, fresh out of college child who, even if you put those apartments there, she can't even afford that. Who can afford a $2,000+ apartment when you're not even able to then save for purchasing? The new townhome or apartments on at the old senior home, she's looked at those. She's like, I can't even afford that. Why aren't we building to bring in young families that are going to grow and live here? Get them houses that they can afford. Myself and Rachel, we're both single parents. We could never afford to live here in Cary anymore if we didn't purchase years ago. Cary's becoming this huge monstrosity that you're not going to allow home ownership. My parents moved out here 50 years ago to be able to afford a house for their young family. My dad was a Palatine police officer. This was the farthest that he could go to be able to afford to live anywhere, because people can't afford to live anywhere. You can't move farther east. Nobody can afford to live there. We come out to Cary for affordability. Putting in these huge monstrosities is not going to be affordable. Let's think about affordable family home ownership, not affordable rentals that are just going to suck people dry still and make some corporation big money. Affordable family home ownership. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to make a comment about Maplewood? Come on up. Please state your name and address for the record.
Excuse me, Ron Gillen, 582 Alida Drive. We're all a little confused. And I'm not speaking for the community, but I'm going to repeat what I hear. And it's like, it don't make any difference. They're going to do what they're going to do. They've already made the decisions. They're just going through the procedure to make it look above board. Now, we were at meetings, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago on this same subject. At $1.5 million, the developers all walked away. Couldn't make it work. And it sat there, and it sat there. And then the school had their plans, and you didn't allow that to happen because the zoning wasn't right. Now, the city buys it for $5.5 million, going to take down the property, the construction or the buildings. So what's that, another $500,000? So a $6 million city purchase is now affordable to develop? We're confused. And I've asked many that have talked about it, what's the selling price? Nobody's ever heard it. So I'm going to ask, what is the selling price of the Maplewood property to the developer? And I think that should be public information. Nobody knows, nobody can find it, if it's even priced for the public to see. But from a community standpoint, those proposals, and I was out of town when that was presented, but I have looked since, and it makes you cry. I mean, to think that this community, this board, would allow that, which is purely, potentially Section 8. I don't care what you say. Nobody of the Cary community that you've already heard from would look forward to moving into that environment. So what's coming in? You know, and in Section 8, what's making it affordable? Then it's whatever you can pay, and the government will pay the rest. So I think I just wanted to speak, again, not for the community, but you can take it as a sounding board or as a repeat of what's being said around the edges. This is not a pretty sight, what's been proposed and what's being presented. And we know that the people around Maplewood is a small group, but it is a solid group. And we're not going to take it sitting down. We've tried different ways. We thought the school was in our court, but politics and deals killed that. Now we are hearing that you're going to change the zoning to be able to do what you want to do. And you would not allow 26 the opportunity to put something down there that I got to tell you the community was in favor of because it maintained Maplewood for some sporting events that have been there forever. Ever meaning as long as any of us have been around. So I just want to let you know that. I think you're doing something that's not acceptable, not desirable, but the community is saying, but it don't make any difference. You can go to the meetings. They've already got the deal made. So that's my thoughts, that's our feelings, and it's hopefully it's not as far along as everyone thinks. Thanks.
Thank you for your comment. Director Simmons, can you address the $5.5 million sum that he referenced?
Sure. So the intergovernmental agreement that we executed with District 26 did have a dollar amount that was towards the purchase of the property and also additional costs related to the purchase of a second property and the relocation of the transportation center off the property, off the Maplewood site. So the $5 million goes towards the purchase of the Maplewood site, which is appraised at or it was basically the purchase price for the property that the district was asking for was the $2.75 million. And then the additional funds above that 2.75 went towards the purchase of the second property that the transportation center will be relocated to. So the district is using those funds to acquire the parcel next to the Aldi across from the Village Hall here on Three Oaks Road. And then with the remaining funds as part of that incentive, they're utilizing those funds to assist with the construction of a new facility on that property. So it's not the $5 million was not just for the purchase of the site. It was also to help relocate the existing transportation center off of that property to another site in the community.
I just want to make sure that everybody is aware of that clarification. Moving forward on this, please, you have to come back up to the microphone, please. We record these.
And talking about the mic, and that's fine, the recording, but to listen to your meetings remotely your sound system is really unacceptable. I don't know if you've ever listened but we cannot hear most of what's being ever said. And the cameras are a mile away. So whatever. So you break down the numbers, but the city still dished out, what, $5.5, $6 million by the time it's done. How you divide it up is a government's way of justifying. But we as taxpayers are looking at $5.5, $6 million. The city has invested or will invest to let some builder come in, and we still don't know what the builder's paying for the property. And that best be public information.
It will become
Why
public
isn't it
information.
now?
Because we're,
Why isn't,
we
if
haven't,
that's for sale, why isn't the price published?
we're still working through this process right now.
Well, but that would be the initial question is, what's the property selling for? right? But it's a secret.
It's,
And I'm saying the community is not, the community that's paying attention doesn't know. And again, the community that's paying attention are this group you're hearing from that live around there. I mean, if you want to do this out on Three Oaks Road someplace, people in Maplewood area probably wouldn't care. So you're hearing from a small group because it is a small part of the city. And the most residents aren't, even know what's going on. They're not paying any attention. So the neighborhoods you're tampering with are the ones you're hearing from.
I realize
And
that.
I
Thank
think it
you.
needs to be more open than it's been.
You want to address?
And I appreciate that, and as Brett mentioned, this is just the start of the process. So the purchase price and the details of the redevelopment agreement, they will be presented, and once they're negotiated and considered by the village board at a future meeting. So those details that you're talking about, those are the details that we are about to embark on negotiating with the chosen developer. So that is the first step of the process. So once we have those numbers and those things for the village board and to weigh on and for the public to see, that will be part of the next steps in the process.
It was Director Simmons and Mr. Morimoto. I was asked, how can we do a better job of getting this information out to the residents that these things are time? I mean, we've talked about, we post all of our meetings, we put them on Facebook, we put them on our website. We do everything that we can to publicize this, generally. How can we do a better job of getting to the community so that they know about what's going on? To the one young lady who said that she just found out about this, how do we do a better job of that? Excuse me, just a minute.
So from a public standpoint, if we know that meetings are coming up, we certainly can look at how we can disseminate that information more to the public, as far as potential workshops or meetings that we're going to be having with the developers for the process. There's certainly ways that we can notify the information. As part of our PUD process, there is the open house component to that. That does require certain notification to property owners within a specific distance of a property. So as the development would pursue through our zoning process, and even before it gets to the zoning process, we would have those opportunities where individuals will be directly notified of those specific meetings. And then obviously as it goes through the zoning process again, when those public hearings are scheduled, those would be directly notified to residents as well. So we certainly can continue to review how the information is there. We'll continue to update the website as more information becomes known throughout the project, to make sure that there's a page or information dedicated specifically to it, and update as far as when meetings would be taking place to discuss the matter.
Right, and so for the folks here and the folks that are watching, we have a dedicated tab on our website that revolves around Maplewood. We will make sure that we continuously post any new information as we move along, that this information gets out there. So we will work with the potential developer to making sure that everybody is notified when the various meetings are going to be happening, and the times and the place. They will most likely all happen in this facility. So I think that communication will be key, and we will look at ways that we can make sure that we are doing a better job of getting the communication out to the neighboring residents. Just a second, Mr.
One more thing to add to what the mayor and Director Simmons mentioned. Another method of communication we can also employ is we do utilize a text caster system. So that is for broadcasting information via text message. So there's a subscription, I'll call it subscription, but there's a separate group that can be set up, maybe related just to this project, that people can sign up for. And when we have updates, we can post it to there just to direct people to the website for either more information or meetings and things like that. So that's another above and beyond component we could look at doing, presuming that our package can handle the potential volume here. But things like that are things that staff will look at as well.
Right, and we can, through the Maplewood access on our website, we can make it so you can sign up for the TextCaster. We would just need your phone number so that we could I don't know, does anybody get our TextCaster now about things that are going on? It'll be just like that, but Maplewood specific. Would that help as well as we move forward? And one other comment, the last gentleman that talked about, I want to address your comments about Section 8 housing. This is not a Section 8 housing development. It's a luxury apartment development. It's has nothing to do with Section 8. I'm just telling you, you're shaking your head no, but I'm telling you what the developers, each and every one of the developers have indicated this is going to be a luxury rental on the rental aspect of it. Some of the developers have an owner-occupied element to it around the perimeter on Krenz and School Street. So those are things that we are looking at right now as well. So I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your professionalism and being respectful from this. This is how we like to roll here in Cary. We want to be able to make sure that everybody is heard. We want to make sure that everybody is seeing what we're seeing. This has been going on for a long time. Maplewood has been for sale for over a decade. We've tried communicating, we've tried working with other developers. The other developers that were purchasing the property from the school district wanted to do it their way. They didn't want to do it our way. So that's why there's nothing there, is because we weren't going to let a developer come in and do it their way. We were going to have a developer give us a development and a product that is replica of what we want in our small town community. We want to maintain that charm. We want to make sure that we are hitting all the bells and whistles that some of the other aspects need. But we encourage you to stay involved, come to the meetings. When the developer that we choose to move forward with, when we make a decision to move forward with a developer, we're not signing on a dotted line. It's not done. We want to make sure that we're all on the same page. We're going to provide a product that the neighborhood would be interested in. So I'm telling you right now, this board is anxious to hear what the neighbors want to have to say about this. So.
Paul and Gallinera, 575 Krenz Avenue. Regarding the question that you had just asked, Mayor, I think that all the examples you just gave, fantastic examples. I can't believe I'm about to say this next thing, but the one form of communication that is still very relevant in the Frankie subdivision, given the mixed generations that we have there, both younger families and older families, is good old-fashioned mail. I think this opportunity for development at the Maplewood property is important enough to invest a budget that will put notices in mailboxes for the most important meetings that are coming up for people to show up. The type of information that can be easily accessed from the website and from other areas. But not everybody's plugged into electronic communication, especially a lot of the households in the Frankie subdivision. I happen to be one that is plugged in, so hence I'm here tonight to listen to the conversation and contribute. But not everybody is plugged in that way. So I would encourage you to put some dollars aside and resources in place to put notices in mailboxes or hangers on, door hangers or whatever, and allow somebody to hold it in their hand and then take the next step for the additional information that might be electronic at that point. So just wanted to remind you of that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's a really relevant idea. Thanks. Chris, did you have a comment?
Chris Reiki from Lloyd Street, 446 Lloyd Street. When the home rule, when you were working on the home rule, there was a flyer that went out to all the residents on their water bill. Why not put a flyer in regards to the meetings in the water bill? That way you can get an opinion not only from the subdivision, but from the whole community. You know?
Yeah, I appreciate, that's definitely something that we look at, but they don't get out as quickly as things would happen, because we're on like a every other month quarterly cycle on our water bills, and we want to make sure that everybody gets the information. So I think that Mr. Englander's idea might be a good one, as well as getting people to just pay attention. Just
And one additional thing to go along with that, Director Simmons mentioned that direct communication is sent out to the residents or the households that are most directly affected, correct? Director Simmons, how are those notifications going out?
Those generally got mail.
Okay, so I would ask that you open up that range of mail to everyone in the Frankie subdivision, because that's what we're called. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to make a comment?
You all know me.
Well, would you remind everybody else?
Martha Ritter, Frankie subdivision. See, there is a subdivision. They're saying there's no such thing as Frankie subdivision.
Who said that?
That's where we live.
No one said that, Martha.
You
Please
told me
continue.
that last time.
I,
So anyway, you weren't willing to change the zoning change for the bus barn after we got 175 signatures, which is most of our neighborhood, right? So you weren't willing to change it, but boy, are you willing to change it now. Shame. And I called my insurance company and asked if they flooded, would they be covered, those houses? She said, absolutely not. If it floods, you're on your own. That's just wonderful hearing that after I already flooded once. And someone asked me, Missy from the Park District, she wanted to ask me if any of you would like that in your backyard. I guess that's a no. Well, thank you very much, but, and the senior center apartments, they called those luxury. Unless you're a nudist, you can't really live there because there's only like an 18-inch closet. So I don't call those luxury, unless you're a midget.
is there anybody else who would like to make a comment? Please come up forward, please.
Hi there. My name is Sean Hart. I don't live in that Maplewood area. I'm at 65 Mohawk, which is in Greenfields. I've been a longtime resident here. I very rarely come to these meetings. The last time I was here was when the Hoffman Park situation was going on, and it went to a referendum, and the town decided that they wanted Hoffman Park purchased by the Park District, when the only other alternative was going to be gravel mining and things of that nature. I get most of my information off the Facebook, and I am aware that there was some kind of a economic report. It looks like the study was started in 2021, and it was published or accepted in 2022. And that lays out the Main Street redevelopment or Main Street strategic plan. In that strategic plan, as I read it, it seems like this was laid out for large-scale multifamily in that. And I just seem to think that, first of all, I didn't think that report was very well. There were a lot of platitudes in it, and, you know, we are in my opinion, a single-family home community. There's another thing on your website, some strategic plan from 2017 or so that uses old data, But on that map, it certainly shows all the Maplewood area and Greenfields and, you know, the regular part of the town here as single-family residential. I don't feel that this fits the community. My kids all went to Maplewood. They played on those baseball fields. I think building this kind of a monstrosity is just another Tyvek Tower waiting to happen. There is some kind of a bankrupt development in Fox River Grove that's half completed. Any of these notions that people want to live an hour and 15-minute train ride from downtown Chicago, you know, as a renter, I think that's ludicrous. That Metra parking lot has not been full since COVID. And every time I drive into Crystal Lake to go shopping and whatnot, there's another housing development, townhomes, what have you, going on. I'm just wondering, number one, how much that report cost, and it's not, there were, how much that report in 2022 cost, how much was spent on that. From the discussion that's talked about here, I came here to kind of, you know, have my voice heard that I think this is a bad idea and bad for the residents and the taxpayers of Cary. From what I believe you mentioned, this seems like it's a done deal. And I don't think the folks that are here or the folks on Facebook realize that all we're showing up for a meeting on the coldest day of the winter is to hear that we're choosing between the three. So that tells me this is done. I don't think people need a postcard. On something this big and this major, I think that this, I'd like to know what the steps are to have this as a referendum.
All right, I'm going to stop you here. We typically let people talk for 3 minutes. I've been trying to be generous with the time. What we are doing, there's no final decision being made tonight. We are merely selecting a potential developer to be able to start engaging with the village and the community to develop the property from the best way that we think it should be done as a community. There has been no backdoor deals here. We have not made a decision on what's going to happen. There's been no financial promises made. This is what we're starting the process for, sir. We do not have any commitment right now. We are just certainly, at this time, starting the process. There's going to be multitudes of public meetings. There will be contact with the residences. We've made notes on how we can better communicate with the residents in that neighborhood. So there is no decision. Whatever the board decides after our conversation this evening, they will select a developer they would like to proceed with. That's all. We're not doing a site plan. We're not choosing buildings. We're not choosing density. We're going to start the negotiation now.
But none of these are single-family homes.
Some of the developers are offering multifamily owner-occupied townhouses along the perimeter of School Street and Krenz. So there is an owner-occupied element to this development, in addition to the luxury rentals that are proposed. This is all right now, that's part of the whole RFP process. We take control of this as a community, with community involvement, helping us forge what's best for the community for that particular property. That's all we're doing right now. We have not made any decisions. We have not signed anything on the dotted line. This is part of the RFP process. The board has been very transparent about this. This is the direction that we're going to go. Rather than a developer coming in saying, this is what I want to put on your property. We don't want that. We want us to be able to say, this is what we would like to see on this property. And tonight we are going to have a discussion, and potentially I think that we could make a decision on what developer would be best suited to get us to that next level. Again, when we go through this process, if the community can't come together on this, the board can't get together on this, we could walk away. So right now, tonight, I've had several private meetings with residents that don't feel comfortable coming to the podium and talking and explaining to them. Perhaps I should have made that more clear when we started this evening. There's no decisions being made on the final product. The decision that's being made tonight, it's a consensus to move forward with a particular developer that has interest in working with the village to bring us a property that we would be proud of, that would be best able to emulate the community in itself and what the village needs for housing. It's a whole thing. Nothing's being decided right now. There will be a multitude of meetings. The meetings will be provided by us as well as whatever developer that the board chooses.
What are the steps to have this as a referendum question so the whole town can vote on it, not just the folks from this neighborhood?
There is a process for either initiating a referendum question. For any citizen-initiated referenda, there are timelines. You're past those timelines right now for the April election. But for a future election, there are referenda options for the community, for the board. That isn't something we have looked into at this point. The board is using these meetings to gather community input.
Well, I mean, I don't think anybody really likes coming to these meetings unless it's, something horrific going on. And, I'd like to see it as a referendum question so the whole town can get involved. That's just my opinion.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anybody else who would like to make a comment? Yes, sir, please come up.
My name is Kurt Zimmerman. I live at 641 Norman Drive, and I've lived there for 34 years now. And we really, like others have said, we're very, very happy with our neighborhood. If nothing changed in our neighborhood, we would continue to be very happy. But the mayor mentioned a consensus. And just from listening to the comments and things that have been said here this evening from people who live in this neighborhood, the consensus is nobody likes it. And it was brought up that if this was happening in your own neighborhood, that you probably wouldn't like it either. And this is happening in our neighborhood, and it's hard not to take it personally, but we think that you should take it personally too. This is not the direction that we would like to see it go, but there may be some kind of development possible, but this just seems like way too much in way too confined of a space. If you were developing out here on Three Oaks Road by Aldi, have at it. It's wide open. You're not disrupting a neighborhood over there. But this is a neighborhood and a well-established neighborhood, and you'll have to excuse us for not being a little bit upset about it being turned upside down on us. The traffic considerations are considerable, because if you've ever tried to go down Norman Drive and take a left-hand turn, or even a right-hand turn at some times of the day, you'll find that it's extremely difficult to do because there's a lot of traffic. Cary-Algonquin Road is a highway. So thinking that you can move a road down and block and somehow it's going to get better just doesn't seem practical. You can't put a stoplight there because it's too close to Route 14. You can't put a roundabout there because it's too close to 14. So there aren't really any suitable traffic alternatives. And adding that many people to the neighborhood is going to double or possibly even triple the amount of traffic that needs to use those streets. There will be increased accidents because after people sit there long enough, they're going to try and get in places where they shouldn't try to get in. And that's what causes accidents. So I think this is a bad idea. That might be a good idea in another location, but this location I don't believe is right. And the neighborhood is firmly against it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. One more time, is there anybody else that would like to make a comment regarding Maplewood? Okay, we'll turn it over to Director Simmons. Do you want to give a kind of an overview, please?
Proposals or?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so as the board recalls, we did receive 3 proposals for the site. I do have a couple slides that were put together as far as the concepts that were contemplated. As they're presented here is based on the order that we received them from the developers, so when the proposals were submitted. Development Team A is referred to in the packet, is a group combined of Cordigan Clark, JTO Real Estate Services, Erickson Engineering, and D2 Capital Advisors. Looks at the development of the property with a mixture of for sale townhome units on the periphery of the site, with apartments on the northeast corner, or northeast portion of the property. The proposal included 3-story townhomes, again, roughly 50 units, I believe the plan had. The apartments were first level parking within each structure, and then 4 stories of residential above as proposed. The plan, as you can see in this image, had a park space reserved in the southwest corner of the site, at the corner of School Street and Krenz Avenue. Would also have a connection point to the existing neighborhood, which is the existing Prairie Street entrance into the school property. And then with the planned Maplewood Access Road, which would run along the north side of the property, the development would have 2 access points to that future roadway, which would tie into the intersection of Cary-Algonquin Road and Industrial Drive and its western terminus. And currently that intersection is planned to have an improvement of a traffic signal there through coordination with McHenry County and the Illinois Department of Transportation. And then also be a signal at the eastern terminus of that existing currently downtown at Main Street and High Road near the BMO Harris Bank property. So that's the first proposal as presented. The second group is led by the Lindmark Group, also consists of Godala Real Estate, Fitzgerald Architecture, Erickson Engineering, and William A. Randolph Construction. This proposal, again, similar to the previous one, had the 1 access point to the neighborhood to the south, existing at Prairie Street, and currently, as designed, has 3 connections to the future Maplewood Access Road on the north end of the property. So majority of traffic in this proposal and the previous proposal would be geared towards that future roadway as kind of the front of the property. Again, townhomes are proposed around the periphery of this site. The potential for sale or rental of those units was discussed, had not been determined as of yet, but the developer was open to modifications to the plan and considering how those units potentially could be sold. From the discussion that we had 2 weeks ago, the developer did make some modifications to the plan, which are illustrated in the site plan here. They did try to incorporate some covered parking within the buildings. So the developer did add some additional parking in both the, give my directions, southeast wing and northwest wings of the 2 buildings that would modify the plans to incorporate roughly 70 spaces within the building, and that would result in additional level for those structures as well. So the lower right-hand image there, you can see the elevations had a stepped facade where the 2 portions where the parking was added would potentially be a 6 stories in height with 5 stories for the other portions of the property. So that was a modification that they had provided in response to comments received during the last meeting. The third proposal from development team sees Alessio Companies, VDR Development, Elite One Service, Charles Hall Construction, and Sterling Hall. Again, this property, this proposal incorporated 100% rental as proposed. Did have two-story rentals along the periphery of the property. Again, tried to incorporate a park space in the southwest corner of the property along School and Krenz, with taller structures in the northeast portion of the property facing the access road. The elevation shown here showed the three-story is more, in the center image, is more what the elevations would look like for the taller structures, but they are looking for a four-story building, which is a similar product. The lower product is a four-story product that they have, but they would look to have the peak roof design potentially for that project. The upper image is an image that of the development that have occurred, successfully developed in the area as well. So as for discussion purposes, happy to answer any questions the board may have regarding the proposals as received to date. But that's a overall summary of what is contemplated from the proposals received.
I will now open it up for the community discussion. I will remind the committee members, if you can please speak into your microphones so that you can be heard and on the recording. I'll throw it out to whoever would like to start.
Okay, I'll start.
Do I have to pick somebody?
I'll start. First of all, I want to thank everyone for coming tonight to talk about it. It is a very cold day. I know it's not a lot of fun to come out on a day like this, so we do appreciate your comments, your concerns, and we will take all that into consideration. As the mayor said, and everyone has made clear, there's been no decisions made at this point. Other than I think realistically we have to say to you that the decision is made that something's going to be developed there. So, I mean, I think that that's a realistic, expectation to set for everyone. When it comes to the three proposals that came before us, I appreciated every one of the different development teams that came before us and want to invest a lot of money into Cary. I will say to you that, I grew up in Palatine. I remember what downtown Palatine used to look like, and my mom still lives in Palatine. I finally moved her from one area to another area where she's downtown, and I remember how upset everyone was when they wanted to develop Palatine. I remember the uproar about it. You were getting rid of single-family houses down there. They were putting the brownstones, the townhouses, all that kind of stuff. I would beg to say to everyone that it turned out very nice, and it's worked out really well in that community. I'm not saying we are Palatine. I'm not saying we want to be Palatine. I'm just talking about how development changes and how needs change. Each one of the developers that came before us did identify and talk about, where they saw the needs in the suburbs out here, what is being asked for, what type of housing people are looking for. And while I may be in a position that I'm a firm believer in ownership and owning homes, there is a big demographic of people that are not owning homes anymore. I work in this industry. There are a lot of people that are looking for rentals for a variety of reasons. It could be that they're young, they're starting off, they want to be mobile if they can move quickly. They don't want to own homes. Part of it is that there's not a whole lot of inventory out there. But I would tend to say that I don't think people are looking to invest millions upon millions of dollars within our community for it not to be successful. But what I'm tasked with right now is at least explaining to you what I think about these different development teams. And first of all, I think they did an excellent job. What I personally, the one that I leaned towards was Team A, the very first one. And some of the reasons that I leaned towards that was because I like the idea of having ownership, of having the surrounding less dense, that is going to just make a nice transition from the current Frankie subdivision to have townhomes that people own. Because as you said, a lot of people look at that and say people are going to have a much better investment into the home if they own it versus renting. So I liked that. I liked the fact that, again, it was less dense to more dense. I tried to make some notes here, excuse me. I was a big proponent that I wanted to see indoor parking. I think that if people are living in this area, they want to have the ability to have some indoor parking. I think it's fine to have some outdoor parking. I liked the park. I think that that integrates this development. I think that Trustee Dudek talked about this with each one of the developers and asked them the question that, you know, we have a subdivision. We're looking to put a subdivision within a subdivision. How do we keep that character? So I liked, I think all of them did a good job with that. And I liked the amenities. I thought that when you look at those, I did go down and look at one of the developers that came in. I went and looked at one of their developments that's not that far from here in Wheeling to get an idea of what are these, what are luxury apartments these days? What is it? Because I'm telling you, the younger generation is spending a lot of money on rent. And we may all sit there and go, that's absolutely crazy, but it is happening. And there is a huge demand for it. The amenities that they have, a lot of people look at it and they think, wow, I can go and I can have a pool and I can have a workout area and I can have a business area and I can have a dog park and I can have a park. And yet I don't have to have all the additional expenses that come with ownership, whether that's the people looking to downsize or whether it's people looking to start off. So I don't think that having apartments is a bad thing, a poor reflection on our community. I think that there's a need for it. I did get some calls from some business owners as well as some younger people that live in the area. And each one of them did talk with me about, yeah, you know, people do like to have single-family homes. People are concerned about it. People are concerned that we're going to get into the same situation that happened in Fox River Grove. We're going to have something that started and sits there and is an eyesore. I understand that. I'm not looking to say anything negative about our neighbors other than to say that we are going to make sure there's other things that came along with that issue out there that we would always look to mitigate to make sure that that did not happen. We've had other developers, I've been on the board before, and other developers come, and we don't know whether it's going to come to fruition. But I also don't want to be in a position that we say to 3 different developers, oh yeah, keep spending money, keep doing this. We need to say to someone, hey, let's see if we can make this work with you. So the goal tonight is just to talk about who do we think would be the best person, the best developer to partner with right now moving forward. And I'm leaning towards Team A. So.
Trustee Weinhammer?
You said a lot of really good information, Ellen. So I want you guys to all know I heard every single one of you guys that came up here tonight. And in the past, I had always echoed what you guys had said, that I always wanted to see single-family housing there. And then time and time again, my 8th year here, nobody can give us single-family housing on this area. So I just wanted you guys to know that that's something that I've always asked for, but it's nothing that's ever been presented to us because it's not something that is feasible to have on the property. And I heard you guys also talk about the traffic. One of the things that we can talk about as well with a developer that we choose is not having the entrance of your, of the,
Prairie Street.
it's Prairie Street, okay, Prairie Street go into the development. We could have that completely closed off, and it could just use the Maplewood access road. So that could go ahead and, if that's something, I know you're shaking your head no, are you thinking differently? Maplewood Access Road.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Can we've,
I did
I
ask.
know, well,
I did
I will be
ask. I
more
was
than,
just
when the board
curious.
is done, I will be more than happy to give people an opportunity to come back if that's what you'd like.
No, and thank you for sharing, because I did ask you. And I'd love to hear from you guys again after we speak too. So that is a possibility if that's something that the community wants or if they don't want. I echo what Ellen said with developer A. I liked that they had the brick facade. I know that the facade isn't picked yet or anything like that, but in the pictures, that's what it was. I liked the parking. I did like how it was townhouses, again, that came up to the single-family homes. I thought it was a good transition. So that's where I'm at this point.
Thank you. Trustee Collier?
I'm also with the first proposal A, for some of the same facts that everybody has shared here already about less, or the parking indoors, less cars in parking lots and traffic, and also more green space that we can get in this neighborhood. For height and density, nothing's been discussed, and I'm definitely in favor of less density that we can get into this area for sure. I have also looked at some of these builders and went to some of their projects and looked, and there is some nice product out there. And when somebody asks, would you have this in your backyard? And I could truthfully tell you, yes, I would. I live in Fox Trails, and I had a gravel pit back there forever that we dealt with, and it turned into a beautiful park. Sometimes you gotta look at bigger picture and look at what can happen down the road. I know people are very, very upset about disrupting their neighborhood, single-family homes. There's just single-family homes won't work on this site no matter what. We've tried, we've asked builders, nobody, the home prices in there would be $1 million a piece. Nobody's gonna pay that. And then that would make, you know, and people keep saying they're gonna drive down our value of our neighborhood. These are units, and when they do stuff like this, nobody's losing value of their home. They're gaining value. You can go around to every community that's added these structures and complexes, and all values went up. We're here to work with everybody on this, and I understand it's a small neighborhood and people don't like change at all. I don't like change all the time either, but sometimes we have to move forward. Like I said, our communication will definitely be better. I'm all in favor of letters going out and more public meetings, and there will be a ton of meetings. We value everybody's input. You guys say we don't, but I disagree with you.
Trustee Dudek? Microphone, please.
Yeah, I had to collect my thoughts.
Okay.
And I'm sure I don't have them all, but I'm going to try to do the best I can. I think there's a little bit of history that needs to be brought to the attention of some folks just at the beginning. And I know many of you are already aware of this, but this is not something that just started overnight. You know, Maplewood came for sale probably 12 years ago. I remember being on the board when I got a call from our village administrator at the time that District 26 was putting the property up for sale. So it's had quite a history which frankly we shouldn't even be talking about today, because previous boards should have been able to solve this, you know, in my opinion, years ago. But we are where we are, so we're dealing with it. I would like to recommend, and I've said this as part of my questioning to the developers, I would like to recommend that the Frankie subdivision, if you want to be known as the Frankie subdivision for purposes of these discussions, get together and nominate 3 to 5 people from your area that can be a liaison with the village board. I think that one of the most frustrating things as an elected official that I have seen in 14 years in Cary is probably the same thing that frustrates most of the people sitting in the audience, is there's not enough give and take. The audience always thinks we make the decisions, and we always end up not getting enough input. Why don't we stop that? Why don't you get together? There's several people here today that I thought offered some really great suggestions, were very professional in their approach, tried to eliminate emotions, which I know emotions can be very, very high in these kinds of things, and bring us a small team that can work with us. It can maybe sit in some of the meetings with whoever the developer is that we choose, so that we do have that communication back and forth. I don't know if the mayor feels that's a good idea. I didn't talk to him about it, but as I listen to everybody talking tonight and I hear people's comments, I think it would be a real plus, certainly a way for us to bridge some communication gaps. I don't think I'm going to speak out of turn here either on a very first question that was brought up today, and that's the $5.5 million cost. This will be a phased development. Phase 1 of it is acquisition of property. So the $5.5 million is, and part of it was already addressed, was the purchase of the school district property, which the village now controls, was the purchase of the Aldi sites. I don't have a dollar amount for that, but anybody driving past that can see there's a sold sign on it, so that's part of the 5.5 million. And please correct me if I'm wrong, Eric or the mayor, the remainder of that came from District 26, I believe, on their anticipated budget for the construction of a transportation center.
Right.
These are not numbers that we just pull out of the sky. 2 of those 3 things have already been spent. And they've been spent on acquiring property so that we can move to a next phase. Shame on us if that's not clear to you, and I completely agree with you, Paul. In fact, I was going to say it before you went up to the dais, that I don't go to the village's Maplewood site because I'm involved in it day to day, week to week, month to month. I know what's going on. So again, I'm saying shame on me that I don't go there and see, are we communicating enough with the general public, not just the Frankie subdivision, but everybody in Cary. So obviously, that's not the case. So I would suggest, to your point, communication be improved. Paper can work. The texting could work. Maybe even this 3 to 5 person liaison team would be a way to get information to the community. So I want to just make it clear for the gentleman that asked about the 5.5 million and for the rest of the group here. 2 of the 3 are for purchase of the real estate. That is already done. The remainder is to build the transportation center with those numbers coming from District 26. They are not things that the village board developed. The third thing, and I could go on more, I just don't have enough time, so I do want to address the developer piece of it. We had 3 presentations. One of the presentations was 100% rental. For all 14 years that I've been on the board, I've never heard anybody say we want all rental on a property like Maplewood. Certainly since it's been for sale, that's never been something that this board or even prior boards have ever supported. You can take what you want from that comment, but from my perspective, that really puts that developer at a disadvantage when I'm thinking about making a decision ultimately to choose one. Another of the developers was a mixture of owner and rental. That developer is seeking from the village financial participation through the TIF.
Rick, keep in mind, we're looking at the consensus from the board with regards to which developer to negotiate with, so we're not going into the financial part. That'll be the next phase of discussions.
With all due respect, if the attorney stops me from this, I'll stop. But I think it's important when I get to my final conclusion of who I'm supporting, that the financial piece of it is part of it. So, Scott, you can tell me if I shouldn't go that way or not. But to me, the financial piece is a part of the decision.
Well, we wouldn't be getting into any details.
I'm not getting into
right,
details.
sure. But
Yeah.
there is some information that has been shared to date, preliminary information from the 3 proposing developers. No decisions have been made. No negotiations have begun. But you do have some background information that informs the decision-making today. As long as we don't get into the details, which I don't think we will, that's fine.
Okay. Well, then I'll phrase it a little bit differently. So that leaves me with, I'm sorry. That leaves me with 2 developers to think about. Of the 2 developers, I would suggest that I'm more comfortable with the first one. I like their mix of owner-occupied product and rental product, and for other reasons, which I am told I can't really cover very well, I will stay with developer 1 at this point.
Thank you. Trustee Stefani?
So going over the 3, well, one, I was part of the meeting, but virtually last time. And I agree, the video being so far away is a pain in the butt, as well as audio, so I do want to notate that. Communication is key. I really do feel that option A, in my eyes, is probably the best option, contractor-wise, to go with. I do feel that looking at the enhancements that B did make, that was shared with us earlier this week, or at least for me, it was last Friday, going 6 stories, I'm fully against anything over 5 stories. I just want to put that out there. I'm not a fan of that. Option A is less dense, and I then think of the traffic that it can and will it will bring more traffic. So what we do with those stoplights and the access road, I am truly worried a little bit about that. I do like the code enforcement, after further conversations with Brian, that everything will be outfitted for electric vehicles. I am a big fan of that, as I'm sure everyone is well aware. I'm against 100% against apartments across the board. But out of the three, option A is really the only one that kind of puts the mix of both of them. With that being said, I think that's really just, I concur with everything Trustee McAlpine was saying earlier. We do hear you guys, and yeah, that's all I got.
Thank you. I'll just wind it up. This process has been going on for a long time. It was mentioned about our plans, our comprehensive plan, which was completed in 2015, identifying this particular piece of property for what it's being potentially developed for right now. So at the community, we had hundreds of people participating in the comprehensive plan in 2015. We spent countless times, we highlighted the Maplewood area because we knew it was going to be an opportunity for the village. And also what was referenced was our strategic plan that we did not pay for. That was a grant that paid for that grant to further study the downtown and incorporating Maplewood into our downtown. We have a thriving downtown district. We have a lot of things that are coming. We have one new restaurant coming in this spring. We were just made aware of another one that's coming in late summer. We have a business owner that wants to redevelop their property downtown to bring in more opportunities for restaurants. We're becoming more and more known as a destination for entertainment and restaurants. That is something that has been particularly interesting to me. I've had many conversations with business owners about wanting more people to come into the downtown. We're looking at this very seriously. And then I made reference to the strategic plan that we did. I was at every one of those meetings. I went to every comprehensive plan meeting. I talked to many different business owners as well as the residents when it came to the strategic plan. We walked the properties, we walked the downtown, and it was highlighted that people wanted to showcase our downtown. They like what's going on downtown. And you know what makes communities thrive more is people. But it's up to us as a board to help navigate this. The board never voted on any new development at Maplewood because it was never something that the community wanted. We had developers that wanted to come in and do it their way. We said, no, this is what the community wants. We've had meeting after meeting. We've showcased things before, and this is what the community wants, and this is what we could do. And they refused to negotiate with us. So I think that we do that on the behalf of the Maplewood neighborhood. If we didn't care, which is not true at all, I have meetings, staff this last week have had several meetings with residents that are afraid to come and talk about this. They're not necessarily against a development. They just want to be able to be heard. They're not comfortable with talking in front of people, and I understand that. Quite frankly, I'm not either, but it's my job. So if anybody has an opinion or wants to move forward with a discussion, please make yourself known to me or to staff, and I will make sure, I will always have a staff member with me to make sure that you're getting the information that you need. These are situations that continue to make the village of Cary a great place to live, continues to make us relevant. We are competing against all these other larger communities, and we're doing quite well. And I think that is something that we need to be aware of, that we are here listening to what you want to say. We hear you, we understand what you're saying. Now it's up to us. It seems like we have a consensus to go with developer A, to start the negotiating process. And then this is when it comes up, this is when we rely on you to come forward and have a discussion with us. We would prefer it be professional, be reasonable, and be just courteous towards what other people have to say, because not everybody in your neighborhood agrees with what has been said tonight. I've had conversations with people. So we need to work together to come up with something that will be relevant for our community. So I don't know if there's anything else that any other board member wants to say, but Director or Administrator Morimoto has a comment to be read into the record by Rick Walrath, who was unable to be here tonight due to a commitment that he wasn't able to participate remotely.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, Trustee Walrath asked that we read this for the meeting this evening. So I quote, "As a trustee of the Village of Cary, I understand that growth and development are essential to ensuring the long-term vitality of our community. One of the key components of this growth is the addition of market-rate apartment home communities in Cary. These developments provide much-needed housing options for individuals and families who want to live and work in our village, supporting local businesses and contributing to the overall economic health of our community. Trustee Walrath wants to assure our residents that Cary will not lose its small-town charm and character as we evolve. Thoughtful planning and responsible development will ensure that any new apartment communities integrate seamlessly into our existing neighborhoods and reflect the values that we all cherish. Change can be challenging, but it also is necessary to remain a thriving and competitive community in today's evolving landscape. By embracing smart growth strategies, we can attract new residents, retain our workforce, and provide opportunities for our young professionals and seniors who wish to stay in Cary. The addition of market-rate apartments will help us diversify our housing options while preserving the sense of community that makes Cary such a special place to call home. Trustee Walrath encourages all residents to stay engaged and informed as we work together to shape the future of Cary. With a collaborative approach, we can ensure that our village continues to prosper while maintaining the unique qualities that define our hometown."
Thank you. And we've taken away that the communication is of the utmost importance to the neighborhood, and we will do what we can to make sure that we get the information. If you could, maybe we do a survey in that neighborhood to get anybody that gets email or the text caster, and yes, we can use the U.S. Post Office. That's not a problem, or do door hangers. And I do agree with Trustee Dudek about putting together a group of articulate, professional, respectful neighbors that want to engage in a healthy conversation about what we want to do over there, what you want to do over there. When I say I am speaking as a community. The time is now to start paying attention. Every meeting that we have is online. We have our own YouTube channel. It's all there for you to watch. Trustee Stefani had mentioned about he was just on. Believe it or not, I watch some of these meetings afterwards, and I've noticed that myself. It's very hard to even see the board from the cameras, and we just have to have board members speak into the microphone because when I'm on there, it's like blaring. And I get that, and it's hard. We'll beat people if we have to, but we want to make sure that you're getting the information that you need. It's here. You know what? You can also take it upon yourself to call the Village Hall and say, look, I need an update on what's happening at Maplewood. And one of us, myself or staff, will get back to you, perhaps setting up a meeting. I have meetings all the time with the residents over there. I have meetings with residents throughout the community about all the varying issues that happen in their own respective neighborhoods. No community is untouched by what's going on in their relative communities. We deal with it on a case-by-case basis, and we would encourage you to come and speak to us and have a professional conversation about what you'd like. I think that if people take a step back and take a reasonable approach to this, we will for sure be able to come up with something that you will be proud of. I'm in my 12th year as mayor, and there's been some pretty dicey things that have come before us in these 12 years. The first one that we had was a community that was completely divided about workforce housing. That is proved to be something that has been exceptional in the neighborhood over there. We've had no issues over there. It's a segment of the housing that we needed to obtain by the state statutes. We have exceeded that, so we are no longer looking for workforce housing, or we're no longer looking for affordable housing. That is something that is not even on our radar anymore. So your concerns for that can be dropped. Although that we always have to remember that everybody is welcome in the Village of Cary. And then moving on to the Meyer material. that the meetings that we had to move our meetings to Crystal Lake because everybody was so upset about that. But we said, keep your eye on the ball and wait till you see what the gem that's going to be. And it is. I don't know if anybody goes out there in this room, but it is quite a gem for our community. And it's something that we had a donor donate $500,000 to the Village of Cary for beautification in the downtown. And strategically, they asked for $100,000 of that to go towards that new pavilion that we built down there for the community. So we have a goal is to make sure that we are giving people what they want and what is good for the community. So I want to, and the other thing is like when we were closing Sage Parkway in order to maintain our largest employer in town. When we closed Sage Parkway, we also had to we had to rent the Holiday Inn to deal with the massive crowds that didn't want to lose the access to Three Oaks from that way so they can get to 31 faster. Well, by doing what we did, we were able to maintain our largest employer, and we all benefit from the fruits of what they do. As I said, they're our largest employer. Their tax bill helps every single taxing district here. Through that closure of the road, they've been able to expand their operation time and time again, and there's another expansion that's going to be coming quite soon, I believe. Am I not mistaken, Director Simmons? Soon. So, we try to work with everybody because we want to make sure that we continue to be the Village of Cary. We don't want to be, I don't want to mention the A town, the P town. I grew up in Mount Prospect. It's completely different than when I lived there too. We lived down, it's different. We want to maintain our small town charm, but we can do that if we work together and become reasonable with the expectations of the village board, the expectations of the general community, and the expectations, especially for this, of the Maplewood community. So we are here to listen to you. We are here to help you go through this process. You can call. I will absolutely meet with you. Staff will be able to meet with you too, and I'm sure any other the elected officials up here would be happy to meet with you as well. So is there any other comments or?
Mayor, I'd just like to say that if you want to do, or if we want to do door hangers, I am more than happy to walk along Frankie subdivision and do door hangers, so.
Okay.
I'll second that. Of course,
Yeah. I think that's good. I think that we have a high school that's
Really?
always looking for,
National Honor Society.
National Honor Society is always calling me and asking for what can we do? What can we do? Anyway, so I think we have a consensus through the board. I will give my final thoughts on, I started off with looking back at our planning that we have done, and the owner-occupied is, I think, essential over there. The lesser density is essential over there. Now, working with the actual physical site plan and the actual buildings itself, that's something that we can work with the developer on. All three of the developers that we talked to have assured us that they will work with us, but more importantly, they are willing to work with, we'll say, the Frankie subdivision. Okay, Martha? I said it. She's referring to our lobby. It doesn't list Frankie subdivision on our wallpaper. And she was going to write on there too, and I said, that's defacing public property. Anyway, so it's been noted, but anyway. So I think that the village board is looking forward to this process. I think that moving forward in a positive, productive way is the way that we're going to get this thing done. Again, we need you to stay engaged, take the time, and go to our website, make a phone call, sign up. Does everybody here get our Cary News Weekly? Does anybody know what Cary News Weekly is? I would strongly advise, go to our website. You can sign up. That is a unbelievable font of information. It tells you everything and anything that we do. When we actually do special Cary News Weekly for things such as this. So sign up for that. You have more opportunities to get information. We'll look at a special textcaster just for your neighborhood. And we will, as I said before, let me reiterate, we will make sure that we communicate in a timely basis, giving you the information that you need so you can stay engaged. Okay? All right, well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming out.
How soon can you
Chris, can you come up to the microphone, please?
How soon can you get notification out? 'Cause
Well,
you-
we're
you
just-
can
we're-
walk-
we're just
you can walk
starting.
through that neighborhood, and more than half of the people aren't even aware of what's going on.
Oh, that's what we're going to work on, Chris.
I mean, like this gentleman said, I mean, some of the people don't even have, you know,
Well, we're going to take care of that. We're going to look at door hangers. We're going to look at U.S. mail. We'll make sure that the people get the information that they need.
okay,
And,
the sooner the better, because half the people, like I said, more than half the people don't even know what's going on.
well, it's going to be a while before we get this back on an agenda right now. There's steps that we have to take to engage the developer and that stuff. So it's going to be a while, but we will make sure that everybody is notified. Thank you, Chris. Yes, and plenty of time. Right, and then there's going to be public hearings, there's going to be, and they have to go through zoning, there's going to be a ton of opportunity to have public engagement, and we want that. I encourage that. I sometimes beg more than I should, get people to come up and talk. Dave, did you want? Could you come up to the microphone and state your name? Okay. Would you put,
And then, Mayor, can you just ask if there's anybody after we had our comments that wanted to come up and
Sure.
have any final comments? Thank you.
these are also available on our website. Okay. Sure, come back up, please. Just restate your name and address for the record.
Rachel Byerly, 538 Norman. Could you specifically state the best way to contact you, Mayor, to schedule a meeting?
mcounick@caryillinois.com. Or you can call staff. I have a village-issued iPad that I carry with me everywhere, and I get all my notifications. Somebody sends me a voicemail, staff will send it to my voicemail, and then I'll get an alert on my device so I can make sure that I can get a hold of you.
Okay, thank you.
And our village hall number is 847-639-0003. I think it's on our splash screen at the top of the meeting as well. But yeah, this is the general village hall number, and you can leave messages for Mayor Koenig or staff, and we will be happy to set up meetings.
Is there anybody else that would like to make a comment? Yes, sir.
Tim Egan, 565 Corinth Avenue. What's the density of Plan A, and how many cars are estimated to be there?
Director Simmons, could you explain that? I think there's 50 townhomes.
Yeah, the density would be less, or is currently proposed is less than what the zoning district would allow for the B1 district. So it's the number, I think, was around 17 units an acre is what this project came to. The townhomes were 50 units, and the rest of the development was about 200 and so apartments. I don't have the numbers on the screen here, so.
Yeah, this is the least amount of density of all three of the developers.
So how many?
So I think I kind of separate the owner occupied from the apartments. There'll be about 200 apartments as we see it right now. We have yet to begin to
200 people?
negotiate. Pardon me?
200 people?
Well, it depends. There are going to be one, 2, and 3 bedroom units. So there's not going to be a lot of children coming from here. There's going to be a lot of young professionals and seniors wanting to downsize into this. I get a lot of requests from that.
Do you have an estimate of the number of cars? Or?
No, well, there will be a traffic study that'll be done during this whole process.
What I'm nervous about is what you're cut off, basically, on the north and on the east side.
Well, on the north, it's the proposed Maplewood Access Road. We've had an easement on there.
Yeah, I heard about that.
About that, we've had that easement there for 50-some years, and people that live there know that
Not
there's a
all of it,
potential. Well, along the back, but then we are also working with Metra and the UP because there's some of the property, and they support this project.
All right, thanks.
Anybody else like to comment? Again, I can make myself available to anybody that wants to have a conversation, or anybody, any trustee that wants to hang. We can only talk in twos. We can't have more than 3 people in a meeting with an elected official. So staff is always going to be present with me in a meeting like this so that we can make sure that you're getting the information and the feedback that you need.
Jeremiah Barrett, 557 Krenz Avenue. I just got one question. How do you expect us to trust you when you said that you're going to get the best deal from us? If you couldn't even get a DCBU from your developer at the Schoolhouse Apartments, that should have been a done deal right before he even put the place up. You know?
You're referring
saying
to the
you're getting
mailbox.
The best deal, you know? And then we got that stupid, you know, rural mailbox rail out there.
Right, I understand, believe me,
But,
that is
you know,
something we've,
Then you ask us, our perception is that you didn't get the best deal.
well,
And
our,
now you're asking us to trust you that you're gonna get the best deal on. I don't trust you, just from my perception that should have been a done deal before.
I understand, and that was something that was, we have talked to with the developer. Director Simmons and myself have made that comment to the developer. We're taking the next steps. I would like to say we're a little bit ahead of you on that, because we've asked for this.
Really? 'Cause
Yes.
I worked for the Postal Service for 37 years, and most of the developments in the community that I served, the units were ordered before the buildings were put up, and then put up there, right as well as the buildings were being built. So don't tell me that the developer, they should have been ahead of it, and you should have been ahead of it.
Thank you for your comment.
That's a perfect reason, though, that we want everyone engaged, so that something doesn't get forgotten like that.
Okay, nothing else. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned at 7:48.